Hey guys, so this is the second video that I am bringing out for the main YouTube channel, and again it's one that is shorter, but again it's because I've decided to kind of focus on a couple of the more lesser known cases because it is actually what I kind of set out the channel to do. So you can let me know what you think, and yeah, I'm just gonna get straight into it. I also just want to point out I could not find a single photo of anyone belonging to the case in terms of the victims or the culprit. I also just want to say that I tried my best at pronouncing these names correctly, and I hope I am, and if not, I am sorry. On March 14th, 2001, just after 1 a.m, there was an explosion at an apartment on Blackhall Square in North King Street, Dublin city centre. Inside the one-bed apartment, they would find the bodies of Feng Wei and Qing Liu. They were childhood sweethearts from the Shenyang province of China. They had both moved to Ireland the year before in early 2000. Qing studied English at Swan Training Institute on Grafton Street, and Feng at the Centre of English Studies on Dame Street. And then the both of them worked part-time in restaurants. The fire service would see that a fire had been started and that petrol was the accelerant. The post-mortem would show that the couple had also been strangled. They were last seen on the 12th, 2 days before. Feng was seen around midday on Dame Street, and Qing was seen around 5 p.m. on Henry Street. A 25-year-old man would come forward, and say that he knew the couple. And in fact, on the 15th, he would identify them. His name was Yu Zhui, and he would identify them on the 15th, and then he would go on to give a witness statement for the Gardaí in Bridewell Garda Station. Over 4 days. He was living on McKee Avenue in Finglas on the north side of Dublin, and he quickly became the focus of the Gardaí's investigation. So the apartment had where those CCTVs that's in like a dome kind of thing on the ceiling, and this would find usually leaving and entering the apartment several times. So he's seen entering 2 p.m. on the 12th. He is seen leaving at 12:56 a.m. on the 14th. Now, he would deny that this was him in the footage when he was shown it, but his roommate, Liu Shasha, would identify him on the footage. On the 22nd of March, he would be arrested. And while he was being questioned, the assistant commissioner police officer for the Chinese was with him, I think kind of attending with him, but also then as the translator. Now, I'm not going to get into it, but there was a whole thing recently about how the Chinese have their own little police stations in Ireland. So I'm laughing, it's because it sounds a bit bizarre, but they would have their own police stations basically in Ireland set up, and they would kind of deal with their own citizens, this kind of thing, and they've been shut down. I'll try to find a bit more information. I'll put it up for you guys. Now, Liu Zhui would identify himself on footage at the apartment and on the keys at the use it office, and he's wearing the same clothing. So he would then say that he had become concerned when he hadn't heard from them, and so he went to their apartment. And when he heard the explosion, he was afraid and he ran away. Now, why would you be checking on them that late at night? If you were concerned, you'd kind of come over 8 or 9 p.m. You're not rocking up after midnight to someone's house to see if they're okay, because even if they are okay, I can sure guarantee that they won't be when you've woken them. His fingerprints would be found in the apartment. Now, if he was their friend, obviously that could be kind of explained away. But he was charged with the murder of both students. The case would come to trial on the 13th of January 2003. Gardaí believed that this was not an organised crime thing. It was nothing to do with the triads, any of that. They believe he acted alone. But Liu Zhui would have armed guard for the entire trial because of an unrest that had come through, was rippling through the Chinese community, because he had brought shame to them, and he had brought negative attention to them. And so it was kind of just a general threat to him. So yeah, he had armed guard for the whole thing. Liu Zhui would plead not guilty. Obviously from the CCTV and then medical evidence and stuff, the state pathologist, Marie Cassidy, she would determine that he had strangled Feng from behind, like what possibly while he was sitting down on the couch, because Feng was 6 foot, so he was taller than Louis. So that would have been the only way he could have kind of done it if he was lower than him. So she reckons he was on the couch. So like I don't know if it's a case of he was invited in, and was hanging out with him, and then like that, got up and strangled him. Or had he snuck into the apartment while, Fang was watching TV and unsuspecting? Obviously, we don't know any of that. But this is what she's got. This is what she's suspecting. He then left because he's caught on CCTV. So he leaves, and then he comes back and waits for Queen. And again, when she comes back, he strangles her. There was like pink cotton cord found in the apartment, and they reckoned that that's what he used. But there was also marks on Feng's wrists, so they do believe that he was bound as well. He then dragged both bodies into their bedroom and placed them on the bed, and then he left. And then he came back, and then he left. And then he would come back on the early hours of the 14th, and he would douse the bodies with petrol and set the fire. He then cycled home, where his roommate would say that he acted as usual. The reason they determined that they were killed on the 12th is because Feng was dead at least 20 hours before the fire had started. Isn't it kind of amazing just how really they can tell these things from the bodies, even after being through a fire, that they can tell well, the body was dead 20 hours. Like, it's just science and stuff is amazing. So the prosecution, Dennis Von Buckley and Vincent Hengen, they believed that the motive was robbery. And this was because they had arrived early 2000. And then in the summer, Feng had gone home of 2000. And when he came back, he had been given, like his dad had given him like 30 grand, basically. And then he went home again, just before the murder, and had only recently returned kind of in the March. So usually knew that he had gotten that large sum, and they believed that he thought he probably would have gotten another large sum when he came back that time and wanted to rob him. So usually he was also studying English, and then he had 2 jobs. So he had a part-time job in McDonald's in Phibsborough, and then he also worked in a restaurant in Temple Bar. They believed obviously he wanted the money because maybe he was just tired of working. Feng's father, Lian Sheng Yue, would say, though he was a businessman, and he would say that the reason he came home in the summer was to see his grandmother, who was in hospital, and that he had told, told his business people, or his people from the company, I assume maybe he means like the secretary or something, to give him money. And so they gave him 30,000. It says dollars. All of the figures in this is dollars, and I don't know if that's more because they're equating it like as a general sum for China or something. I don't know, but it says dollars. So anyway, $30,000. And at this time, the second time when he went back, he only gave him quote pocket money. Now, when Yuri was arrested, he had 600 again dollars. It says, obviously it's euros. I'm wondering, is it just typos from that news articles? So he had about 600 on him in his wallet. So whether he had found some money or that was just his own money, I don't know. Fang's father would say that he had never wanted him to come to Ireland, that he thought Australia was a better option to go and study, and that he had even gone over to Australia, to kind of check it out, and that's where he wanted him to go. So perhaps it was that Quinn had decided to come to Ireland, and obviously he wanted to follow his girlfriend here, or maybe it was him who just decided, no, I prefer to go to Ireland. So at the time, it was the longest trial in history. It lasted 60 days. 1 juror died during that time. So the other 11 continued. So there was 5 men and 6 women. Even during that time, 2 of them would become ill. And then on Friday, the 11th of April, they began their deliberation. And by Sunday, they had reached a verdict. As they came into the courtroom, they looked exhausted. 1 juror was crying. And they found Yuri guilty on both counts of murder. He would be sentenced to the mandatory sentence of life for both. The jury were then excused from jury duty for the rest of their lives. When the verdict was read out, he was very indifferent. He was laughing with his solicitors and the translator. He then shook the hands of the guards and said to one of them, "Good game," and to the other one, "Go to the gym." The trial cost the state €1.2 million due to the security and the translators and then the general cost. In November 2005, he would appeal the conviction, but thankfully this was refused. The Criminal Court of Appeal found no basis for the appeal, so it was thrown out. Liu Jui would go to Wheatfield, and there was actually a news article then later on about how when Eamon Lillis, who I reported on, the second ever video I done, go check it out if you haven't, he was like on the wing. It was like, who's on Lillis's wing? Ah, you know, I listened, it was naming people, and it named Liu Jui as one of the people who shared a wing with him. I just wonder, like, why didn't you just rob them? Like, could you not just go and break in and rob the money if you thought there was money? Like, I feel like maybe the reason he kept going back, maybe it was because he was like, I don't know what to do, and he just kept going back and panicking and kind of what they do, and then eventually decided he just had to burn the place down. Or was he going back to try find the money? Like, was he going back each time, you know, in between work or something, to try find this money that he thought, you know, Feng had? But I just feel like, for obviously all crime, like all murders, I'm just like, why not just rob it? You know, it's the same for the last video. Like, just, you could have just robbed the money and went back. Like, just rob the money. You could have left the two of them and just robbed the money. Like, that's it really for this case. I did want to ask though, if you've ever done jury duty, because with this case and another thing I was looking at, it was like, you know, it just got me thinking. Sorry, have you ever done jury duty? I've never done it, and I had been asked to do it when I was like younger, and I was in college, and I really wanted to do it because I was like, oh yeah, that'd be some fun. And my college wouldn't allow me to do it. So, and you're exempt anyway if you do, you know, if you're in college or whatever. But I was raging that I couldn't do it, and I've never been asked since. Never been asked. But I was wondering, so if you have done it, and if you feel like sharing, let me know what type of cases you done. If you want to kind of go into a bit more, if there was anything mad. Do you know, I can't even remember what I was looking at on Reddit or something, and it made me think of this. Like, obviously when you see these images, you know, I see images like the jury have to be shown like the murder crime scenes and stuff like this. If it was a case where you were like, it was like, oh, I remember now, sorry, I was listening to a podcast, sorry, about a serial killer, and they were saying like that I want to say it was in Hong Kong, I think, and it was a serial killer, and obviously like brutalized women and like done whatever to their body parts and stuff. And so they were talking about how like the female crime scene investigator was taken off the case once she found like that a breast basically or something, and they took her off it because they didn't know how she, you know, they didn't want to through that. And then there was no women on the jury because again they didn't want them to see all this stuff. And I was kind of saying, like, God, because it is obviously horrific. Like, I know we're all into kind of like true crime, and you know, like I'm into a lot of morbid things, but you know, things like that you see you can't unsee. And I wonder if you were the type to be like, if you weren't, you know, if you really weren't that type of person, and you were like, no, I don't want to see these things. I wonder, is there an argument there to be like, no, I don't want to do the jury duty. Like, I'll do a different case, but I will not allow you to show me these types of photos that'll haunt me forever. Would that work? I don't know. Anyway, let me know. And let me know if you've done jury duty here or abroad, wherever if you've done it, like, let me know. Anyway, that is this case. So this will be the second one out for you guys this week. And then I already have my next one ready to go. I just need to record it. And then I'm also recording the other one for a Patreon, which should be up before you actually see this one. So yeah, you can go check that out if you want. So I hope you all had a lovely weekend, and I hope you all have a great start to your week. Yeah, once Halloween's over, you know what's next? My birthday. Okay, not gonna ramble too much. Thank you as always for all your support, and we shall see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.